to do. Okay, the next letter is the Raish, right? The Raish says with the following thing. The word brocha is an interesting word. If you take out the vav, you're left with base, Raish, chof, right? We spoke about brocha. The base is the first letter of brocha, but if you take out the word brocha itself, baruch, you take the word baruch, you take out the vav inside of it, so you have, right, beirach is also brocha, right? So you have base, Raish, chof, which means bless, and whose numbers are 2, that's the base, 200, which is the Reish, and 20, which is the Chaf, or Chasafit in this case, right? Respectively. All multiples of 2. In Gematria, multiplications of numbers, right, refers to the concept on a higher level of spheres. The same 3 letters also spell the word Bechor, firstborn, when the Cholon vowel is only a dot over the Reish. The Bechor usually receives double the inheritance of the rest of the son than the rest of the sons from the father. Again, the idea of planting a brucha. Thus, like the letter base, the Reish is bound up with the concept of more. Perhaps this is why it is the first letter of Russia, an evil person, right, as in the Haggadah. One of the main driving forces of a Russia to perpetrate evil is an unquenchable desire to have more. The easier, the better, especially in the case of Esav of Russia. So Yaakov says, right, to Esav in Parshas V'yishlach, now take my gift, which has been brought to you, for God has favored me with it, and because I have everything. He prevailed upon him, and he took it. I have everything, Yaakov says, all my necessities. However, Raish explains, Esav spoke haughtily. I have plenty, meaning much more than I need. So that's the idea. They look at the world, billions upon billions of dollars, and people want more power and more control, more. That's the whole world. The whole world of materials is all about having more. The idea of being semech bechalko, content with your portion, is a very difficult concept for a lot of people, especially in a world with so much competition, and now with technology making so much more available to so many more people at affordable prices. It's just like a race to have as much as possible. Another car, fancier house, always more, right? In terms of gashmius. When it comes to ruchnis, you can't have enough. When it comes to gashmius, you have to have enough. Otherwise, as the Gemara says, it's very hard to eat at 2 tables at the same time. Either you're going to pursue materialism at the cost of spirituality, or vice versa. So, but that did not stop. But did that stop Asa from taking more? Did it stop Rome from expanding its empire? Did it stop Hitler, Yamach Shmo v'Zichro, from stretching his army and resources and risking eventual military loss? The evil can be mighty and powerful for a time, and even do a lot of damage. But in the end, the very greed that made them so successful will also ultimately be the source of their own downfall, like Haman, for example. And the very spiritual material contentment that Yaakov Avinu showed, and which drives the tzaddikim of history, becomes the basis of their eternal survival. Being happy with one's portion doesn't only save a person from sin for the sake of the world to come, it also brings an inner contentment in this world as well, preventing a person from being caught up in the world of more, that most of mankind lives in and stresses about. The letter Raish is also the first letter of the word Rosh, which means head or leader. The Gemara says, Onkelos bar Kalonikos, the son of Titus' sister, wanted to convert to Judaism. He went and raised Titus from the grave through neomancy and said to him, who is most important in that world where you are now? Titus answered him, the Jewish people. Onkelos asked him, should I join them here in this world? Titus told him, their commandments are numerous and you will not be able to fulfill them. It is better to go and battle against them in this world, and you'll become the head. As it says, her adversaries have become the head, from Eicha, which means that anyone who troubles the Jewish people will become the head, to become leaders of the army. What's that supposed to mean? That's like inviting the enemies of the Jewish people to attack them with God's blessing and promise of success. In fact, there is an earlier story that seems to say exactly this. The Romans then sent Nero Caesar against the Jews. When he came to Jerusalem, he wanted to see his chances of success, so he shot an arrow to the east and it fell in Jerusalem. He shot another arrow to the west and it fell in Jerusalem. He shot an arrow in all four directions. I'm not sure why four, because the one going towards Jerusalem for sure is going to go to Jerusalem, unless it would somehow go somewhere else, in which case it would mean something else. But that's what it says, okay? And each time the arrow fell in Jerusalem. He then did another test, and he asked the child, "Tell me a verse that you learned today." The child answered him, and he passed it from Yechezkel, "And I will lay my vengeance upon Edom by the hand of my people Israel." Nero said, "Clearly, the Holy One, blessed is he, plans to destroy his temple and wants to wipe his hands with that man who destroys it," meaning me. If I'm going to go do it and I'm going to be successful, like I'm being encouraged to do right now, then I'm going to be blamed for it later on. But in the meantime, I will be successful. I will be successful. I'll be able to do it and destroy the Beis Hamikdash. If you were a Roman and you were told this, what would you do next? Right? Attack, for sure. The Romans always looked for signs of success before going to battle. And what better sign was there than God himself foretelling a victory? Certainly the last thing a Roman should have done at that point was join the Jews, as the Gemara says Nero Caesar did. And the question is why? You know, you're being told that the people you're about to attack, somebody's going to conquer them. They're going to be, destroyed more or less in the upcoming months. And you go ahead and convert and join them? Why would you do a thing like that? Because both Onkelos and Nero were smart enough to realize that if God was prepared to allow his people to become so downtrodden in this limited temporal world, it must be because it would be so elevated in the next eternal world. And they were right, as the Gemara says. Rabbi Yeshua's son became weak and his soul left him. When he recovered, his father asked him, "What'd you see?" He had a near-death experience. He died, went to the next world, saw something, and then came back, right? He answered him, "An upside-down world. That's what I saw. There, whoever is esteemed here was down, right? And those who are down here were esteemed there, were held in high esteem there." He told his son, "My son, you saw a clear world, not an upside-down world. You saw the world the way it's supposed to be, not the way you're used to." This is what the Raish instructs. It's not about being ahead in this world, but in the next one. If you have to lead, do it because divine providence has sent you, and not so that you could have more of something in this world. That's the Raish.